Yeah, I definitely think Kyle Trask, he had a bad situation to come in. It was like, again, the Kentucky game, he willed them the victory there, and it was kind of like a storybook type of season for him. So I definitely think he can carry that momentum up in this year. I know a lot of people have been clamoring for Emory Jones there, the backup quarterback who has a lot of talent, is very mobile there. But yeah, I think Trask earned the right to start at least at the beginning with the way he played last year late into the season.
I think a lot of Miami fans are kind of sour grapes about like Florida being so good under Mullen. I mean, Mullen was like practically begging for our head coaching job twice, and we turned him down both times. And on top of that, he's just like the goofiest dude on the planet. Like he wears khakis that are way too big, and he's wearing Jordans with them, and like I just don't even get how he relates to any of these kids. Like how do these kids not like go on a recruiting visit and just think he's the biggest dork on the planet? But the success speaks for itself. So I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The winning and getting players to the NFL. That's pretty much what it boils down to. You can be whoever. I mean, the head coach can be whoever, but if you have great assistants that can relate to these kids, and also you win at a consistent level, and you get players to the NFL. Definitely, you got those three things, then players are going to want to play for you no matter what, no matter how goofy he is, and which he is. He's pretty nerdy, but then again, you know what? Hey, he's not one of those dry type of guys. He's one of those guys that laughs at his own jokes or whatever. But hey, you know what? That's fine with me. As long as they keep winning, Muller can do whatever the hell he wants to. He's been successful in Gainesville so far, and I hope they can continue.
Hey, you know what? I'll say I'll take a goofy head coach that wins over, a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but I'll take a goofy head coach over, a guy like Manny who shows up in a yacht and then goes 6-7. So I said it. What are your thoughts on Coach Diaz and, the state of the Miami program right now?
I like Manny Diaz. I just think that he was look, Miami fan. It's hard being the head coach of Miami, but simply because you're fighting old school fans who remember how great their glory years were, and they expect those to return. And it's hard that it's going to take some time for them to come back. It may never get to the level that they once was, but I still think it's no reason why Miami should be a perennial top 15, top 20 team in college football every single year. They have the resources now with the facilities that they've added. Obviously, being in the state of Florida and South Florida, they ought to have a stranglehold a lot of times on that area. So yeah, I definitely think they're in a great situation where they should always have the top talent there. It's just a matter of I mean, it's not like Manny Diaz came in the best of situations, especially with DeMar Rick, his final year there in Miami. So it's just going to take some time there. It was obviously you got a first year head coach. It's going to be some growing pains there. I just think people have to be patient and understand there's going to be some roller coasters in the road. But I definitely think overall, I think Manny is the right guy. It's just a matter of um, getting where they need to be. And getting lastly there from SMU, I definitely think it was a big move for them, big step for them offensively.
so as a Florida fan, I'm always kind of intrigued. Like, so when your program makes a move that puts fear into your rivals, it's a good move. Um, how have you felt about Miami's offseason as a Florida fan, as a rival? I mean, has any of the stuff that we've been doing, does it put the fear into you that, maybe you might lose your grip on the state of Florida?
No, for me, I'm different because one, I grew up a Hurricanes fan initially until really I went to grad school in Florida, and then I kind of just changed a lot of different things. So yeah, it's different for me, and I don't really hate Miami. Miami fans hate. I feel like Hurricanes fans hate the Gators more than the Gator fans hate. I think it goes both ways, but I find a lot of hate.
I get
Yeah,
that. I completely agree with you on that as well.
yeah, I just think that, I think the Florida fans, especially considering like I'm in my 30s, I kind of when I was growing up, we didn't really play Miami either. I mean, Miami and Florida didn't play, so it's kind of like, yeah, it was a rivalry there, but
Yeah.
it was more, yeah, it wasn't like Florida State or anything like that. But so it's a little different for me. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you talk about the state of Florida who has a grasp on it. It's just about winning. I mean, I think college football is great when Miami is good at the same time. I think it would be good in Florida State. I hope today where Miami and Florida State and Florida are all good at the same time, and you just have that button rivalry like how you did in the 90s. So I hope they're good. I just don't hope they're not better than the Gators, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
no, that's perfect. So when you were around, when you were around the University of Miami program, living in South Florida, what were the biggest things that stuck out to you about the actual program, and what do you think was missing in terms of, not being able to generate 10, 11 wins? Because that's the standard and that's the expectation of every Hurricanes fan. So what do you think is the main, what are the main things missing in your opinion?
Well, when I was covering the team pretty regularly and going to their practices, I was there when Al Golden was there and kind of at the beginning of the race. So I definitely think that what stood out to me, what wasn't there when Golden was there, just really coaching, just communicating with the players there. And you kind of saw it when Rick took over. Just the first day of practice, it was just a lot of communication there between the players and making sure they were doing things the correct way. And I definitely think that was a big difference there. I just think that, that's pretty much what it's going. Obviously, it's coaching, it's talent. Obviously, you have to get the right talent and the right fit in there. And I definitely think that I like Manny Diaz. I think he's on the right track there. I just definitely think last year was just one of those bad season, especially the loss to Louisiana Tech, and which was just unexplainable there. But yeah, I definitely think he's still the guy there. I just think the people just have to give him patience there. But I definitely think Miami's in a much better place now than what they were when Al Golden was there.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm bugged, man. I have to say, so as a Miami fan, I don't think about Florida most of the time, but I think whenever the rivalry games come up, so I mean, we only play like once every 5 years or so, how it's been recently, or maybe once every 5 or 6 years. But when it does come up, it's so intense. So the fact that you guys are doing well while us, and Florida State are so bad, I just can't stand it.
Yeah, I know that's kind of like the bitter pill. Well, I'll ask you, what were your expectations last year? I mean, especially on the back. Did you think? I know a lot of Canes fans thought they were going to win the Coastal and finish 10-2 or whatever. But what was your expectation heading into last year?
I'll let you answer first, Jordan.
Okay, thank you. So I think this offseason that we've had, getting Rhett Lashley, getting De'Aaron King, I think this offseason was the improved, like actually better version of last season, because they look a lot, they look very similar. We get a highly touted transfer quarterback, we get a highly touted offensive coordinator. I've talked about this a few times on the podcast, but last summer, none of those guys were actually proven in the role that we expected them to take. Right? We got Dan Enos, who was the Alabama quarterbacks coach, and we expected him to step into a new role. I mean, he had done it before, but we expected him to step into a new role and have the same success that he had just had as a QB's coach. And then we got Tate Martell, who was very successful as a high school quarterback, and we expected him to have the same success that he had at a different level, right? And so we were kind of banking on these unknowns and the what ifs and like expectations that weren't based in reality, I guess. And it really, like, we shot ourselves in the foot, because we were counting our chickens before they hatched. And I think Manny really learned his lesson and improved on that, because now he's getting guys that have the 7th rated offense and a guy that has actually scored 50 touchdowns. So my expectations last year, I was expecting like 10 wins, and I did think that we were going to win the Coastal. I got caught up in the hype just like everyone else did. But now looking back, I can see the difference between last summer and this summer. And admittedly, I'm a Kool-Aid drinker, so I'm back at the 10-win mark. I think it's going to happen. And I'm just waiting to realize, after we're sitting there 4-3, that, like, you know what, this isn't going to go the way that I thought it was. But that's every year as a Miami fan, it feels like.
I mean, for last year, so I was hyped as hell when Tate Martell got here. I mean, everyone knows that I'm a big Tate guy, but we also got guys like Trayvon Hill. We got Jeff Thomas back on the team. And then I was also there at fall camp covering for the State of U. So I was at practice every single day. And even when Jaron Williams was announced quarterback, the starting quarterback, I was very optimistic. I called it 10-2 because you look back at the schedule and there really wasn't many teams that were, obviously this is a typical Miami answer, but we have so much talent than so many of those teams, but we ended up losing to teams that we shouldn't have. I mean, we beat, Virginia, and we beat, FSU, and we beat Louisville, but we lose to teams like freaking Georgia Tech, FIU, just games that we just shouldn't have lost to. I was there in Orlando against the Gators, and I was pissed coming out of that game, but I still felt like because we played them right down to the last snap, and so I was still optimistic that we could get 9 to 10 wins, and obviously that didn't happen. But I'm almost glad that last season happened, just because Manny's able to learn, he was able to, figure out that he wants a spread offense, so he gets a Rhett Lashley. He wants a proven quarterback, so he got a De'Aaron King, and we also got Quincy Roche. And so, as disgusted as I was from last year, I think. I'm more of a realistic Hurricanes fan, so I don't drink the Kool-Aid as much, but I'm saying 9-3 this year just because our schedule is even worse than last season, if that's possible. And we have a system. We have a system that is proven, and Manny, God willing, has learned from his mistakes from last year. So last year was a harsh learning experience, but a learning experience nonetheless.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that they needed to go through that, and it's definitely. I mean, a lot of people didn't see. People thought they'd start 2-0. They ended up starting 0-2, and it kind of really put them behind the 8 ball there. I thought 8-4. I thought they were going to be an 8-4 team. I thought the schedule was what it was. I thought it was, I saw some games there. It was kind of up in the air, but I thought at least they would win 8 games, maybe 9 with the bowl game. Definitely didn't see 6 and 7. Didn't see that coming. But yeah, I definitely think this is a team that can win 10 games. I think the biggest problem Miami's going to face is what's going on in Chapel Hill in North Carolina and Matt Brown. They're building something really, really special pretty quickly, and he's definitely getting some hot recruits there. That's going to be their biggest challenger going forward there, and they got a stud quarterback there as well. So I definitely think Tar Heels, and I think that's what's going to be honestly their biggest challenge for the Coastal title, the Tar Heels this year.
Yeah, you know what Manny needs to do is he needs to get his wife to make out with the players so he can recruit like you guys.
I'm not touching that. You know what? I'm not even touching that. I'm not touching that at all.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I'm just gonna follow the sword on that.
No, that's perfect. Okay, one of the last questions I want to ask you.
Yeah.
So, Urban Meyer, I'm a huge fan of Urban Meyer. I know that he has a sketchy past, and he's done some things, but he turned around this Utah program here in Salt Lake City. He obviously did a tremendous job with the Gators and with the Buckeyes. What are your thoughts on Urban Meyer as a Gator fan? How do you view him as a head coach and everything like that?
I mean, you got to give it up to the man. The man won when he was in Gainesville, albeit a lot of people feel like he should still be there. But, I mean, whatever the case was, I mean, he won 2 national championships, really got Florida back in the position to plan for national championships and recruited at a high level. No matter what bitterness you might have had then, I definitely think that, I mean, he deserves to be up there with some of the best coaches in Florida Gator history. Obviously, Spurrier is a legend in itself, but you want to talk about the second best coach, at least in Florida history, you got to talk about Urban Meyer and everything that he's done. So I don't have any ill will towards the way he did. Sure, I didn't necessarily like how things ended up, but I think so much time has passed and everything, and you just kind of learn Urban has like you alluded to, a sketchy checkered past, but in the end, he won. So he won 2 national titles, and so that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how sketchy can it be? Because he teaches an ethics class at Ohio State University now. So.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's. Yeah, I don't even know what to say.
I'm not an Urban Meyer fan, and sorry I'm
I
giving
don't
you
blame
such a hard
you.
time, Antwan. It's not you. I just can't stand the Gators, but I'm